Welcome to today's Happy Half Year Teleseminar. Today our focus will be on how to set and achieve your goals and even how to enjoy the process. Today's presenter, April Breeden Peairs, is the owner and Chief Operating Officer at Lafayette Square Chiropractic Center. April's educational background includes bachelor degrees in religious studies and psychology from Bethany College in West Virginia, as well as a master's degree in social work from the acclaimed Washington University in St. Louis. After completing her master's degree in social work in 2002, April worked for 3 years at St. Louis Effort for AIDS as an HIV/AIDS case manager. While at EFA, she completed 2 years of supervision and passed her licensure exam. This gives her the capacity to work as a licensed therapist. While at EFA, April learned the ins and outs of a sick care system, which helped define and reinforce her passion for true health and wellness care. From EFA, April took the plunge into self-employment by building a nutrition, sales, and educational company through Juice Plus. For 3 years, this was her primary job, and she served as a wellness coordinator for over 60 medical professionals and their patients during this time. April also has a lifelong passion for community health and civil rights. She was the CEO of the Urban Health Initiative, which from 2007 to 2010 organized the Urban Health Fair and Market, a holistic wellness fair in St. Louis City. She chaired the Praxair Task Force, which used political pressure and community education to force a chemical manufacturing company to relocate after their Lafayette Square location had a major explosion which endangered local residents. She has lobbied with Promo for LGBT rights and has volunteered in Joplin after the tornado and in Ferguson after the recent riots. Most of all, April is deeply committed to Lafayette Square Chiropractic Center's mission, which is to empower your family to embrace healthy, happy, and active lifestyles.
Thank you, Dr. Crystal, for that kind introduction. Today what I'm going to talk about is how to set SMARTer goals. And SMARTer actually is an acronym, and for me it was an acronym that actually transformed my life. For many years I actually dreaded setting goals. I saw them as something that I always set but never achieved, and sort of as proof that I was a failure, if I'm completely honest. They frustrated me, and I felt like it was pointless. But learning this acronym helped me set goals that actually are achievable, and I actually have found a way not only to achieve them, but to enjoy the process. I did send an email to most of you that are on this call earlier this week with a few items of homework, so I'm hoping you got a chance to review that and do those things. If not, don't worry. You will find the seminar, I think, slightly more useful, though, if you take just one moment and write down or think about 1 to 2 goals that you would like to achieve this year, or that maybe you set at the beginning of the year when you set your New Year's resolutions and would like to still work on. So go ahead and get a goal set in your mind, and I'm going to go ahead with the rest of the material. After 10 years of self-employment, many successes, and even more failures, I have learned one thing. There is no secret to success. It is about planning and honest and continual reevaluation of progress. As Benjamin Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. So what does SMARTer stand for? The S is for specific. The M is for measurable. The A is for achievable. The R is for relevant. The T is for time-bound. The E is for enjoyable, and the R is for 2 things, reevaluated and also reward. And we're going to go through each of those individually and how it can affect how you set and achieve your goals. So the first thing that we want to talk about is how important it is to set specific goals. I think the best way to understand why having SMARTer goals makes all the difference is to give examples of goals that meet the SMARTer criteria and those that don't. So as I go through, you can examine the goals you are currently working on and see if they're up to par. If not, you simply revise them until they are. So let's look at an example of a specific goal. A not specific goal would be, I want to get fit. A specific goal might be, I will be able to walk upstairs without being out of breath. Now, for one person, that might seem like a silly goal, something that's very easy and that they've already achieved. But for another person, it might be a really big goal. And so that's why you see specific is so important to the individual person. Next, I want to talk about measurable goals. An example of a goal that is not measurable would be, I want to lose weight. Well, then, how much weight? And when would you like to lose it by? So to make that goal a measurable goal, you could say, I am going to lose 10 pounds by December 31st of 2015. Next, I want to look at achievable goals. Achievable goals are goals that are hard, but still doable. An example of a not achievable goal would be, I will increase our collections by 500% this year. Now, I don't like to squash anyone's dreams, so perhaps for some people in some situations that would be achievable. But I think for most companies that would be very, very difficult. It is possible but unlikely. So something that might be more realistic if you're looking at a work-related goal, or something that might be more achievable, is all 10 sales associates on my team will increase their sales by 10% this year. That would equal approximately 100% increase in your collections within a year's time, and it helps to break it down into team tasks with everybody taking on a little bit of the burden or the responsibility. So again, the A in SMARTER is for achievable, and you want your goals to be challenging, but you also definitely want them to be something that is realistic and achievable. The next thing we're going to talk about is the R, and that stands for relevant. A relevant goal is a goal that is important to you, that has to do with something you really care about. An example of a not relevant goal would be a child who wants to make more friends has a parent who sets a goal for the child to read 1 extra hour a day via an online computer program. Now, the parent's goal is obviously they want their child to be a better reader or to read more often. The child's goal is that they feel like they don't have friends and they want to make more friends. Therefore, that goal is not relevant to that child. We also often see this in workplace environments where goals are set by team leaders or upper management. But if the people who are responsible for achieving those goals aren't engaged and involved and feel like it's relevant to their actual job, a lot of times there will be frustration or a sense of disconnect. So an example of how you would make that same goal relevant to both the child and the parent is a child wants to make more friends, and the parent wants them to be a better reader. Therefore, the parent enrolls the child at an age-appropriate book club at the local library. And you can see how this makes a difference because versus an online program, the child actually has interaction and the opportunity to get to know more people their age and hopefully develop some friendships in the process of also reading more. So the next thing that we're going to go over is time-bound goals. The reality is that we all work better with deadlines. An example of a goal that is not time-bound is to simply write a goal or state a goal that I am going to get more sleep. A time-bound goal would be, by December 31st of 2015, I will be averaging 7 hours sleep a night. And this is assuming it's someone who usually is only getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night and is really feeling like their health is suffering from that. You could even take that time-bound goal further by saying the following. I will sleep from 10:30 p.m. to 6 a.m. on weeknights and 11:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. on weekends. If you do the math, that is about 7.5 hours a night, but it allows for 30 minutes to fall asleep, which we'll assume for this example is about how long it takes the person to fall asleep. So instead of saying, I'm going to get more sleep, you now say, by 12/31/15, I'll be averaging 7 hours sleep a night. My new bedtime is 10:30 p.m. on weeknights. I know I get up at 6. And my new bedtime is 11:30 p.m. on weekends, and I will get up at about 7 a.m. on weekend mornings. The way you would track this is you could chart it in a journal each day that's by your bedside. And so that's an example of a time-bound goal. The next thing that we're going to talk about is enjoyable goals. And I like to title this section, Know Thyself. So if you set a goal that you simply know when you set it, you are not going to enjoy it, you're going to dread it, you're going to procrastinate about it, you're setting yourself up for failure. An example is a not enjoyable goal might be a person that absolutely hates being indoors, already works indoors all day at work, decides that they want to get fit. And so they join a gym and commit to being there 5 days a week for at least an hour. Now, realistically, if this person truly hates being indoors and feels like too much of their life is already spent indoors, they probably will not really get to that gym 5 days a week. A better goal for that person would be, since they clearly like being outdoors, they might purchase a mountain bike and join a cycling club and commit to, at least during the nice weather months in St. Louis, twice a week group rides. And so you can see in that example how getting fit can be accomplished via various ways, and you want to try and make it something that you can enjoy as much as possible. Now, I have to add something on this particular letter. The reality is that not all tasks we have to do are enjoyable, period. That is just life as a responsible adult. If you have to set a goal around something that you hate doing, I suggest that you try to delegate it. For example, I hate filing, so I delegate 90% of it to our data entry employee. There are some things, however, that you don't like and you can't delegate. So if that is the case, I would recommend that you tie it to something you love to do. For example, I really hate reviewing our tax documents for our bookkeeper each month. So what I do is 2 days a month, I allow myself to work from home for at least half a day on my couch in my PJs, which I absolutely love. So that sort of eases the pain of having to go through piles and piles of paperwork and that sort of thing for our bookkeeper. The final letter that I would like to go over in the SMARTER acronym is that final R, which I couldn't choose. Depending on what you read online, some people say the final R stands for reevaluated, and some say it stands for reward or rewarded. I decided to use both because I think both are very, very important. I'm going to give you an example of a goal that was set but not reevaluated. An example would be setting a New Year's resolution, never writing it down, never creating an action plan to follow through on it, and never marking or recording your progress or setbacks on that goal or resolution. An example of a reevaluated goal would be setting a New Year's resolution, writing an action plan with deadlines to achieve that resolution, adding those deadlines into the calendar that you use on a daily basis, and then reviewing your progress or setbacks weekly, or better yet, even daily. Final thing that I would like to talk about is a goal that is rewarded. An example of a goal that is not rewarded is a person quits smoking and has not had a cigarette for 1 full year. So they're doing great. They do absolutely nothing to celebrate their 1-year anniversary of being smoke-free. I think this is one of the most common mistakes. I once had a coach named Dr. Steve Hoffman who taught me celebrate everything, no matter every win, no matter how small, because it is what motivates you to set that next goal and achieve it as well. An example of a goal that is rewarded is a person quits smoking, has not had a cigarette for 1 full year. They saved all the money every week that they would have spent on cigarettes, and at the end of the year booked their dream trip to Costa Rica with those funds. Now my question is, who do you think is more likely to relapse and begin smoking again? And I think the clear answer is the person who did nothing to celebrate their success. I hope that the SMARTER acronym is useful. I know that teleseminars can be hard because you can't actually see the PowerPoint that I'm working from. So what Dr. Peairs and I will do when time allows is we will put this into an audio and visual file that she will upload, and we will send you a link to so that you can review it in the future. The main point that I want you to take home with you is that goals, when they're set in this way, really can be fun. They can guide our lives and give us a larger sense of purpose. One of my other favorite mentors, Dr. Patrick Gentempo, always used to say, fuzzy targets don't get hit. And Earl Nightingale also says, people with goals succeed because they know where they are going. It is as simple as that. There was once a story of a man who talked about how life always has a horse and always has a rider, and you get to decide which you're going to be. So basically, as we go through life, if we decide, you know what, I'm going to take life by its reins, I'm going to set some goals, I'm going to be very clear on my vision of what I want my life to be, look like, and what I want to accomplish in my time here on this planet, it is really amazing the things that we will draw to us and the things that we can achieve in our lives. So I really hope that this seminar has been inspiring for you. I hope that you're able to set some goals that are smarter and that they bring you much joy in the future. I am going to open it up for questions. Right now it is about 1:17, and we will have the question and answer session until 1:30. But before I do that, and I'll ask Dr. Crystal soon to go ahead and unmute our participants, so if there's anyone on the line that does have questions, they can ask them. I just want to really tell you how much I know your time is precious, and we really appreciate you calling in to the teleseminar today. I know that many of you on the call are already receiving chiropractic care at our office, so please know that if that is the case, we love taking care of you. If you are not currently getting adjusted on a regular basis, now is also your opportunity to explore what chiropractic care can do for your health and the health of those you love. So anytime that we host a teleseminar, we always offer a $50 gift certificate to anyone who's on the call that they can use towards a new patient consultation for either themselves or for someone they love. So if that is something you would like, then just give us a call after we wrap up the teleseminar today, or let us know, and we will make sure that we get that to you. And with that, Dr. Crystal, would you please unmute the participants in case there's any questions?
I have a question. This is Patrice.
Patrice, fire away.
Hi. Can you give me an idea of some examples of rewards? That's my biggest challenge in setting goals, is rewarding myself. So just to help inspire me. And this could be for other people. What are things that they have done to reward themselves for meeting their goals, or as a motivator to meet their goals?
Absolutely. We struggle with this personally, and also I've struggled with it with team members in the past, because a gift certificate to a nice restaurant for one member on our team, if they achieve some work-related goals, might be like an awesome gift. They would get super excited about it. And another team member might be like, yeah, I don't really like eating out that much. So it really can vary. What I recommend is that you simply start by making a list of the things that make you happiest. And don't get too, it's really hard because for some of us who are very analytical types, we tend to think in shoulds and that type of thing. I want you to kind of let your right brain and your imagination go wild here. And I just want you to maybe draw pictures or write a list of anything that brings you joy. So it might be fresh cut flowers. It might be an extra day off work. It might be a meal out at your favorite restaurant. It could be, if it's a really big goal that you've been working for a really long time, it could be your dream trip to, for example, for Dr. Crystal and I, the Galapagos. So it really depends on, of course, your budget and, what you can do there. But you want to reward yourself with things that sort of just bring you spontaneous joy or feel indulgent to you. Is that helpful?
Yes. Thank you so much.
I also recommend that you do smaller goals smaller rewards working up to your bigger goal. So
we're having trouble hearing you, Dr. Crystal.
So sorry, is that better?
That's better.
Okay. One of the things I always tell people is that you start out with a smaller reward and work your way up to the big one. So if your reward is that you want to lose 20 pounds this year, one of the things we always want to do is go to the gym. And so when we put that on our list, we also want to go buy clothes for the gym. So I usually tell you, well, make it enroll that you go to the gym and you're going 2 or 3 times a week. And then after that, if you've done that for 2 or 3 weeks or a month, then you can go ahead and go buy some new clothes for the gym. So then that way you're rewarding yourself for the action in what you're trying to reach and the goal you're trying to achieve.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really important to have what we call intermittent rewards if it's a long-term goal. So obviously, I could set a goal that by the end of the day today, I'm going to achieve a certain, I'm going to finish writing thank you cards for an event that we held. I mean, that's a small goal. It's great. I may or may not tie a reward to it, but it's very achievable. It's more task, simple oriented. But if I set a goal that by the end of the year, I want to make connections with 5 different corporations in the St. Louis area and start doing lunch and learns at them, that's a big goal. And if we achieve that goal by the end of the year, there probably needs to be an intermittent reward for every single corporation that we are able to connect with. And then at the end, if we actually hit the goal of all 5, then we do some sort of much bigger celebration for our whole team. So
that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
The only other thing I have to add on that is if you're doing a team goal, I usually recommend that you ask the team members what they would like their goals to be, because they come up with some really creative ideas like $5 Starbucks cards, or they want to take a weekend trip to go do something fun as a team, or like things that I would have never even thought about. So sometimes just asking other people what goals they've set for themselves to keep them motivated will help you figure out what would help you become motivated as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else on the call who has additional questions for us? Or Patrice, if you have any more.
April, I have a question. This is Diana.
Hi, Diana. Thanks for being on the call.
Sure. So my question is about, not to sound like a negative person, but about failure. So what would you suggest doing if you feel as though you've failed? Would you suggest sort of reevaluating before that happens? I mean, how would you propose attacking that?
I've struggled with this and still struggle with this because, I think we've gotten much better at goal setting. I have personally, Dr. Crystal, I feel like it's kind of come naturally to her in a way that it didn't for me for years. There's a quote that I won't get exactly right, so forgive me, but it's something along the lines of, if you fail to achieve your goal, reevaluate your process, don't change the goal. And I think in most cases that is true. So I think that, a lot of the times when I didn't achieve my goal, it's that I wasn't using this smarter process or some sort of process when setting it in the first place, because I look back and I'm like, oh, that wasn't measurable at all, or oh, I wasn't reevaluating that at all. I just set it and then forgot about it, and then 6 months later I was mad at myself because I didn't achieve it, So the first thing I would really look at is the question of, did I really set a smarter goal to begin with? And if you didn't, then I think it's okay to change the goal, or at least to revise the goal to the point that it is something that is smarter. I would say beyond that, I see 2 things that happen. One is that people, especially like type A people who are very motivated, very driven, probably the people that are most likely to actually sign up for and be on this call, tend to set really high goals for ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you do really have to look at that achievable. Are you being realistic about what is achievable? And not that you want to dim your, not that you don't want to dream big, but you do also want to not set yourself up for failure. So that would be number 1. And then I would say number 2 is just looking at, am I setting goals because there's something that I really want or that I really value, or are my goals really not lining up with my true desires and values? I have found most of the goals that I haven't achieved in my life, it's one of those 2 things. Either I didn't set a smarter goal and wasn't following the steps I needed to follow to begin with, or I did follow the steps, but I wasn't really being honest with myself that this is what somebody else wanted out of me or expected out of me, or that I defined as success, but it really wasn't anything that mattered to me. I set a goal maybe a year or 2 ago. It was big, and I wanted to get, I think it was 15, Dr. Crystal could probably tell you, either 10 or 15 pets adopted by the end of the year. And I set this in like September. And we were working with an organization called the Gateway Pet Guardians. And we actually achieved the goal. And I didn't even feel like I tried that hard. But it was easy because I love animals and I was so passionate about it. And every time I thought about it, it would almost bring me to tears. So that's a goal that resonated very much with my core values and what matters to me. So that, I don't know if that helps, but.
Yeah, I think that in my opinion, you have to really look and see is your goal in alignment with your core values? Because if it's not, the likelihood that it's going to happen isn't as good. Number two that I look at with that is whenever you're setting that goal, part of what we have to do is make sure that we're repetitively going back and looking at the goal. So if you set the goal in the beginning of the year and then you don't look at it again until like 2 months later, you kind of end up making yourself feel like you're failing. And it's just because you haven't set up the proper channels to make sure that you could be reminded that that's what you're wanting to do and why you're wanting to do it. And so I oftentimes tell people that whenever you set a goal, write something about why it is that you want to achieve it, and then go back and evaluate to see if it aligns with your core values. That's huge. And, oh boy, I just blanked on the last thing that I wanted to say associated with that.
That part was really good.
But I found that those have always been the ones that, whenever I go back, it maybe wasn't not that it was aligned with my values. It's just that I didn't look at it enough, and then it wasn't in the beginning of my mind or at the top of my mind. I remember the last thing I wanted to say about that is that I'm very goal driven. And I love having all these aspirations that I'm working towards. But one of the problems that I run into is I do too much. So they say, pick 5 or 10 really big goals that you'd like to achieve for the year, write them all down and make a plan to make them happen. And I'm like, well, I'm working full time. I'm taking care of my patients. I love to travel. I have all this stuff going on. But wow, how am I going to fit 10 or 20 new things into my schedule in addition to what I'm already doing? So I tell people to be realistic in the fact of maybe you pick 1 or 2 really big goals that you want to achieve, and then you lay out the action steps that, if your one goal is that I want to lose 20 pounds, then you're going to say, well, why do I want to lose 20 pounds? And when you find out why you want to lose 20 pounds, then you go, okay, well, month 1, this is what I'm going to do. And month 2, this is what I'm going to do. And by month 6, I should be doing this. And you can go back and reevaluate that and say, well, I didn't make it past month 3. What do I need to change in month 3? So I don't always tell people to redefine your goal or objective. Sometimes you just need to tweak it a little bit to figure out how to make it successful.
Is there anyone else on the call who has questions for us? Okay. Well, I really admire those of you who showed up for this call. I thought the happy half year, July 1st sneaks up on us every year, so I thought that was kind of a fun theme for it. We are halfway through the year, so I encourage you to get really clear on what your goals are through December 31st. And the one thing that we didn't touch upon as much as I probably should have is accountability partners. It's all fine and good to say that we're going to do these things, but for me, having a coach or an accountability partner is huge. And is Mary Brown on the call today by chance?
I am.
Okay. Mary, will you take, I just want to recognize Mary is a coach, and I just want to recognize her and let her tell you, just maybe take 20, 30 seconds, Mary, and tell us about what you do and how people can reach you if they are interested in having a coach to help hold them accountable. But even if you already have a coach, or if that isn't in your plans right now, pick somebody whose goals are similar to you and hold each other accountable. Find a buddy to go to the gym with, find someone at work and, set some work-related goals and check in with each other every day, because it is human nature to know that if someone else is going to ask us, hey, did you keep your promise? Did you do what you say you were going to do? We're going to be more likely to do it. So, Mary, will you introduce yourself really quickly before we wrap up the call?
Yes, I am Mary Brown, and I am the founder of Etched in Your Heart. And it's so true about accountability, because coaches need coaches as well. And so what I do is I empower others to reclaim their self-worth. And anyone that's interested in being an accountability partner with me, or even interested in coaching, you can reach me by 573-778-2540. My website is etchedinyourheart.com. And, it is about being in touch with yourself, setting goals, because it starts within before we can do anything for anyone else. So, April and Crystal, thank you so much for the seminar today. It was awesome.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it, Mary, and thank you for all you do for those in our community. So, everyone, we have hit 1:30, and so I like to end as close to on time as I can, and I hope that everyone has a beautiful day. And if anybody has individual questions that they didn't feel comfortable asking on the call, we are always here to help and serve you in any way possible. So have a great day.